Hello guys, thank you for joining me tonight for another calm journey through history. I invite you now to get comfortable, close your eyes, and imagine a world far before our modern age, a world of flickering firelight and endless starlit skies. If you enjoy these gentle, sleepy history stories, please feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more. Your support means a lot. Now, let's travel back in time, drifting far, far into the past, to a time long before any books or cities or modern comforts, back to the era of early humans. Together, we'll quietly explore what life was really like for our distant ancestors living in the Stone Age. Imagine for a moment that you have just been born into that ancient world. It's a cold night in the late Paleolithic era, perhaps around 15,000 BCE, near the end of the last ice age. There are no bright electric lights, no hospitals, only a dim cave lit by a small smoky fire that dances on rough stone walls. You come into the world not with the cry of a hospital delivery, but with a fragile whimper under the pale glow of flames. Your mother, exhausted and in pain from labor, cradles you on the dirt floor. She is young, perhaps no older than 16 or 17, yet in this harsh time, she may already have given birth before. Around you, a few shadowy figures from your tiny tribe huddle close, anxious and shivering in the chill. Maybe one older woman, the closest thing to a midwife, helped guide your mother through the delivery. But there is no doctor, no soothing music, no sterile tools, only your mother's labored breaths, the taut concern on the faces of family members, and the instinctive will to survive this perilous moment. Childbirth in the Stone Age is a dangerous and primitive affair. Your mother had no medicine to numb her pain. She bit down on a strip of leather to stifle her screams, partly so as not to attract predators lurking in the dark beyond the firelight. Every birth is a gamble with fate, and she knows it. Many women do not survive this moment. But tonight, fortune has been kind. Both you and your mother make it through alive. Trembling and relieved, she holds you against her chest, using her own body heat to warm your wet newborn skin in the bitter cold air. In the darkness of the cave, your mother is sweating and weak, but profoundly grateful that you are breathing. She has seen friends and sisters perish in childbirth. She knows she herself faced that risk just now. There are no antiseptics, no stitches, only the hope that her body's strength will carry her through the bleeding and exhaustion. For now she is alive, and so are you. She wraps you in a scrap of soft fur, the only blanket available, and whispers a shaky lullaby. Her voice is gentle and reassuring, speaking in a language that will never be written down, a tongue learned from her mother and hers before, passed mouth to ear through generations. All around, the cave is cold and dim. The firelight dances over crude paintings on the walls, outlines of animals, handprints, artworks made perhaps by your ancestors long ago. A few members of your small band hover nearby. Your father, perhaps an aunt or an elder, all bundled in furs. They exchange quiet words and tired smiles. In a group of maybe 20 people, the entirety of your world, a new baby is a rare and hopeful event. They welcome you with subdued joy. There are no formal celebrations, no written record of your birth, only the murmured blessings of your kin and the knowledge that the tribe's future rests in each fragile new life. They likely won't even give you a name immediately. In some prehistoric cultures, infants were not truly named or considered fully part of the community until it seemed they would survive those perilous first weeks. Everyone knows silently that not every baby lives long. Your mother's tired smile is tinged with worry because so many newborns never open their eyes for more than a few days. But she gazes down at you, determined to give you a fighting chance. She offers you her breast, and you instinctively latch on, taking in your first nourishment. Warm milk that is your sole lifeline in a world with no formula, no bottles. Your first nights are spent nestled against your mother's skin. There is no crib, no cradle. She keeps you on her chest or at her side on a bedding of dried grass and animal hides. The cave walls drip with moisture. The wind outside howls, occasionally sending a cold draft over the glowing coals of the fire. You stir and cry when the cold reaches you. Your mother shifts you closer, wrapping furs tighter around both of you. Each time you whimper, she responds quickly. Her entire focus is on keeping you alive and quiet, so as not to draw any curious predators that might roam outside. All around you are the smells and sounds of close living. The smoke from the fire makes the air thick. Everyone's eyes water at times from the sting of it, but they prefer that to freezing. The scent of wood smoke, mixed with the earthy odor of damp stone and unwashed bodies, is the atmosphere of your first home. You hear soft coughing. The elders often cough from the smoke, and murmured voices as the group settles back down to sleep after your birth's excitement. Someone occasionally gets up to feed the fire, adding a few more sticks to keep it alive until morning. The crackle of burning wood is a constant comfort in the dark. You, a tiny new child, have entered a world of uncertainty. In these first days, every hour is precarious. You have no immunity to disease. A simple chill could take your life. But here in the cave, encircled by the warmth of bodies and fire, you have a chance. Your mother feeds you on demand. There's no schedule or concept of time beyond day and night. When you cry with hunger, she offers milk. When you fuss from a soiled cloth, she cleans you with a handful of moss and coaxes you back to sleep with gentle rocking. There are no baby clothes or diapers, just swaddling bands of animal skin and absorbent moss or fur changed out when dirty. It's not the most hygienic environment, but it's the best they can manage. If you fall ill in these first weeks, there is little anyone can do. A newborn fever or infection is often a death sentence in this era. Many infants never live long enough for the tribe to even acknowledge their individual existence. Your mother is painfully aware of this. Perhaps she herself lost a previous baby at only a few days old, wrapping the little body in sadness and furs and placing it in the ground. Such tragedies are common, unremarkable in their frequency, yet infinitely painful to those who endure them. She watches your breathing constantly, ready to do whatever she can if you show signs of sickness. But lacking any medicine or true knowledge of neonatal care, whatever she can is limited to keeping you warm, feeding you, and praying to whatever spirits she believes in to spare you. For now, you are doing well. You root and nurse, you sleep, you cry and are comforted. With each passing day you survive, your mother's confidence grows a tiny bit. In the back of her mind, she knows roughly 1 out of every 3 or 4 babies born into her world will die in the first year of life, but she allows herself hope that you will be one of the lucky ones. Each sunrise she greets with gratitude that you made it through the night. Each tiny milestone, your first weak cry, the first time you open your eyes and stare at the flickering firelight, is quietly cherished as a good omen. Your father, in his own way, celebrates your arrival too. Perhaps he was outside the cave during the birth, standing guard against animals or hostile humans, anxious and unable to help with the women's business of childbirth. Now that it's over, he is immensely relieved that his mate, your mother, is alive, and that you, a new child, are here. In this world, children mean continuity, survival of the band's lineage. He likely places a protective hand on your downy head and mutters a soft greeting. There's tenderness in his eyes, a mix of pride and concern. He knows the dangers that lie ahead for a small child, but for the moment, he simply enjoys the fact of your existence. Perhaps that night, he adds an extra log to the fire and adjusts the windbreak at the cave's entrance, maybe a hide or brush, to make sure the cave stays a little warmer for you. That is his way of welcoming you by trying to make this harsh world slightly more hospitable for his newborn child. Over the next few weeks, you live a fragile but slowly strengthening life. Your mother scarcely ever puts you down. She carries you everywhere in her arms or in a sling made from softened animal hide. She must forage and do her part, even with a new baby, so she often wraps you snugly to her body and goes about her tasks. When you are only a few days old, she likely resumes some light work, maybe gathering water from a nearby stream or sorting through collected nuts and berries, because daily survival doesn't pause for long, even for births. The other women in the tribe help as they can. A younger girl might tend the fire, or fetch your mother some fresh moss for your diaper, or bring her water to drink while she nurses you. The community works together, knowing that your mother needs extra care so that she can care for you. As a tiny infant, you are oblivious to all of this, but you feel the gentle bounce and sway as your mother walks. You hear the constant low hum of voices and crackling fire around you. Occasionally, a sudden noise startles you, perhaps a loud shout when two tribe members argue, or the howl of a wolf outside at night, and you cry in reflex. Each time, you are soothed by someone's touch almost immediately. In the darkness of prehistory, a crying baby is a beacon that could attract predators, so the adults are quick to calm you with soft shushing sounds and rocking. Your mother might offer her breast even if you aren't hungry, knowing that suckling comforts you into silence. One thing that is already part of your life: parasites. This cave, like all places your people shelter, harbors fleas and lice. They infest the furs that keep you warm. Soon enough, tiny bites speckle your skin. You whimper and scratch as best a newborn can. Your mother notices and carefully picks lice from your hair with her fingernails whenever she has a free moment. Grooming is a daily chore. Everyone in the band routinely sits by the firelight, plucking lice from each other's scalps and crushing them between their nails. There is no real way to be rid of them. It's just a constant nuisance that these people accept as normal. The bites itch, but there's no word for allergy or infestation in your people's vocabulary. It's simply part of the background of existence. In time, you too will learn to tolerate the constant itching of fleas and bedding, or the occasional louse crawling on your scalp until someone catches it. For now, though, such discomfort only makes you cry, and thus becomes another challenge for your mother to manage. During these early months, your world is incredibly small and close. You know the smell of your mother's skin, the taste of her milk, the warmth of the fire, and the muffled echo of voices in a cave. Sometimes, if the weather is fair, she takes you outside briefly, bundled securely against her. Your first experiences of the outside world might be the feeling of the sun's weak warmth on your face and the vast sight of the open sky. Imagine her stepping out of the cave entrance with you one calm morning. She squints in the daylight, and you, a tiny bundle, blink at the sudden brightness. Perhaps it's springtime, the chill of winter is easing, and small wildflowers dot the grass outside. She breathes deeply of the fresh air, tinged with the scent of damp earth and blooming plants, and softly shows you to the world, a panoramic vista of green shrubs, distant hills, and a broad sky. You're too young to focus on anything, but the gentle breeze and the ambient light register in your little body. Your mother may whisper a short prayer of thanks to the sun or the spirits of nature for this moment, before carrying you back inside the safety of the rock shelter. As the weeks turn into months, you grow plumper and stronger on your mother's milk. Many infants in prehistory are breastfed for years, often until age 3 or 4, because there is simply no other food safe enough for a baby until they can chew and digest what adults eat. Your mother's milk provides not just nutrition, but precious antibodies and immunity, though neither she nor anyone understands the science of it. She only knows that a baby kept long at the breast tends to thrive better. Also, Frequent nursing naturally spaces out her pregnancies by suppressing ovulation, an unintended but crucial boon, since having babies too close together would be incredibly hard on her body and on the tribe's resources. So you suckle as you wish, day and night. There is no embarrassment or modesty about it. It is the way of life. Around the flickering fire, people talk or nap while you nurse contentedly. Perhaps one of the young women who is yet to have a child of her own watches and smiles, learning by observing how to hold a baby, how to burp you afterward, by gently rubbing your back. Knowledge in this world is passed down entirely by example and storytelling. There are no manuals or written guidelines. Each generation relies on the previous to show them how to live. Right now, you are absorbing the first lessons of human life, simply by being held and cared for. Not all babies around you are so fortunate. It's possible another woman in your group gave birth around the same time as your mother, perhaps a friend or cousin. If her baby was born weak or if she couldn't produce enough milk due to malnutrition, that baby might not survive. There might have been a night when that newborn's faint cries ceased and the mother's soft weeping filled the cave instead. In such a case, the tribe would quietly mourn. They might wrap the little body and bury it at dawn, a short distance from the camp, covering it with stones to keep scavengers away. They would speak a few comforting words, or just hold the grieving mother in silence. Then life would continue, duties resuming because they must. In this world, every family knows loss. Your mother likely holds you even tighter after witnessing another's heartbreak, silently begging the universe to spare you. Let's imagine that you survive those tenuous early months. Spring turns to summer in your first year of life. The weather grows milder, food becomes a bit more plentiful, as plants bear fruit and animals fatten. With improved resources, everyone's mood lifts slightly. You are an infant of perhaps 6 months now, starting to sit up with support. You babble and laugh at the faces of your family members, bringing moments of pure delight to the camp. Even the gruff hunters soften and coo when they manage to make you giggle by pulling a funny face or dangling a feather for you to grab. In a life of endless survival work, a baby's laughter is a precious gift, a brief respite of innocence that reminds everyone why they endure the hardships. Your presence has perhaps knitted the tribe a little closer. You represent hope for the future, proof that life continues. By now, you might also have a name, or at least a nickname. Perhaps they call you something like Little Bird because of your chirping babble, or Snow because you were born during a snowfall. It won't be anything elaborate, just a simple name often inspired by nature or circumstance. They'll use this name to soothe you, hush now, little bird, and later to get your attention when you toddle off. There's no ceremony to naming, just a gradual assignment as your personality shows itself. As you grow into a toddler, crawling and then wobbling on 2 feet, your range of experience widens. You spend more time outside the cave or hut. Some groups live in makeshift huts rather than caves, depending on what's available. You learn to recognize the members of your band and to distinguish between them. There is Mother, the center of your world. Father, who might play with you by letting you feel his rough beard or throwing you gently in the air when he's in a good mood. There's Grandma, or an elder, who tells you little sing-song phrases and makes toys for you. There are the other children, some slightly older, who become your playmates and teachers in mischievousness. The concept of a safe, nursery-like environment doesn't exist. Wherever the tribe goes, you go. As soon as you can walk, you're tottering after the older kids and into everything. Your mother is often busy with tasks, scraping hides, fetching water, gathering plants, so she can't watch you every second. Instead, the whole community keeps an eye on all the children collectively. If you wander too close to the fire, an adult will snatch you away with a stern scold, and maybe a tap on your hand to teach you. The community cannot afford indulgence when safety is at stake. If you approach a cliff edge or deep water, someone will grab you, heart pounding at how near you came to danger. Bit by bit, through minor scoldings, you learn boundaries. Stay near the group, avoid the fire pit, don't put every random thing in your mouth. That one is harder. As a toddler, you still sample dirt or bugs curiously, to your parents' exasperation. One day, you're playing with a stick at the cave entrance while the adults are preparing a meal. You toddle a few steps too far beyond the clearing, chasing a butterfly or some shiny beetle. In those few yards, you suddenly encounter the world's vast peril. Perhaps you stumble upon a snake basking under a rock. You reach for it, thinking its slithering form is another toy. A nearby shout rings out. One of the older children has spotted the danger and yells to startle the snake. Immediately, your mother and others rush over. The snake, alarmed, slithers away into the brush. You're scooped up, obliviously babbling, while your mother trembles at how close you came to a venomous bite. From then on, they keep you a little closer and perhaps rub a plant extract around the camp to repel snakes. Some plants are believed to deter pests, whether or not it's effective. Childhood in the Stone Age is short and shadowed by constant risk, yet it isn't without joy. You and the other young ones play whenever the moment allows. You might invent simple games, throwing small stones into a circle drawn in the dirt, or seeing who can run to a certain tree and back fastest. You have no manufactured toys, but the world provides endless curiosities, interesting pebbles, sticks that become imaginary animals or spears, mud to smear and shape. Perhaps an elder carved a little figurine for you out of bone, a tiny mammoth or bird, and you treasure it, clenching it in your small fist as you fall asleep. You giggle often at the antics of camp dogs. If your tribe has semi-tamed a wolf puppy or two, which some did, the first dogs were domesticated by late Stone Age humans, or at the tickle of a feather, or when a friendly tribe member lifts you onto their shoulders to give you a ride. Your laughter is infectious and brings genuine smiles to faces creased by worry. Mealtime can be fun for you too, though nutrition is a serious matter. By age 2, your mother has started weaning you gradually. She'll still nurse occasionally, but you also eat solid foods now. Solid food for a toddler in this time is essentially pre-chewed adult food. Your mother or someone will soften a piece of root or meat in their own mouth, then gently feed it to you. It sounds unappetizing to modern ears, but it's the only way to process tough, wild fare for baby teeth. You've grown some teeth by now, so you gnaw on bits of whatever the group has, maybe roasted marrow from bones. But careful, those shards are sharp, pulpy berries or some mashed tubers. Not all of it sits well with you. You have had bouts of diarrhea. One memorable time, after eating some unfamiliar berries, you fell ill, feverish and weak from dehydration. In the absence of doctors, your tribe did what they could. Your mother kept breastfeeding you, her milk being safer and more hydrating than any contaminated water, and an elder gave you a tea made from certain bitter herbs known to help with stomach troubles. You managed to recover, though you lost weight for a while, and it frightened your parents terribly. They had seen children die from such common ailments. They knew it was a close call. Even a simple scrape or cut could turn dire if infected. By toddlerhood, your arms and legs are likely covered in small scars from falls and tumbles, evidence of a rough environment. Most heal fine on their own, but occasionally a wound might fester. When you were 3, for instance, you gashed your knee on a sharp flint shard while playing. The cut was cleaned as well as possible with water from the stream, and your mother packed it with some moss and tied a strip of clean hide around it. Despite her care, the cut grew hot and red over the next days, an infection setting in. You developed a fever and limped, crying from pain. The tribe's healer, which might just be the wisest elder familiar with medicinal plants, decided to try a poultice of chewed up willow bark on it. Willow contains a natural pain reliever, something they don't chemically understand but have observed helps with inflammation and pain. They also lance the abscess with a thorn or sharp flint to drain the pus. It was agonizing, but afterward your fever broke, and thankfully you began to heal. You carry a shiny scar on your knee now, and a memory, albeit fading, of that ordeal. Many children were not so lucky. A minor wound could and did claim lives when infections ran rampant without antibiotics. As you approach the age of 5, you're expected to contribute in small but meaningful ways to the group. The motto of your people is essentially, everyone who can helps. There is no concept of idle childhood where you're only playing and learning. Play and learning happen, but alongside duties, one of your little jobs might be to gather kindling. You and a couple of other children scamper around the vicinity, picking up dried twigs, bark, and dried grass to feed the fires. It makes you feel proud to come back with your armful of sticks and have the adults use them to keep the flames going. Another task might be fetching water in small animal skin pouches from the stream. Under watchful eyes, to ensure you don't fall in, you fill a vessel and carefully bring it back. You might spill a lot, but each time you improve. You're also learning by imitation and instruction the countless skills a human needs to survive here. How to hold a small spear or sling to eventually hunt little animals. How to recognize edible plants versus poisonous ones. Your mother constantly points them out. These berries, good. Those berries with the odd leaf, do not eat. At 5, you might not remember it all perfectly, but repetition etches it in your mind. You learn that bright red mushrooms with white spots are bad, amanitas, deadly if ingested, that minty-smelling leaves can soothe a bellyache, that certain spider webs applied to a cut can help stanch bleeding, a folk remedy some Stone Age people used, essentially an early bandage. This is your education, practical, vital, and entirely oral. By now, your language skills are fluent in your mother tongue. That tongue has no alphabet, no written form, but it's rich in descriptions of the natural world. You have words for many plants and animals, for weather phenomena and daily activities. Perhaps your language doesn't have complex abstract terms. There may be no word for planet or universe or philosophy, but you can articulate everything you need to about your immediate world. Already, you might be telling your own simple stories to younger siblings or friends, mimicking the elders. Maybe you excitedly recount the tale of how you saw a huge deer by the river, even if in truth it was not that huge. Embellishment begins early in human storytelling. Everyone chuckles, but they encourage you, because storytelling is not only entertainment, but how knowledge and culture pass on. Speaking of culture, even by toddlerhood and childhood, you are participating in the subtle cultural practices of your band. At night, when the work is done and people gather around the communal fire, you sit with the others listening to the elder, or whoever is gifted with words, tell old tales. These might be origin myths, perhaps a story of how the world was created by a great animal spirit, or how the first people learned to make fire by watching lightning strike a tree. You don't question these narratives. They are truth and lore wrapped in one, giving meaning to mysteries. On other evenings, the adults might sing. There are likely a few traditional tunes, wordless humming, or rhythmic chanting that are used to soothe children or to accompany certain tasks. A rhythmic chant can help people stay in sync when cooperative labor is needed, much like songs later used during rowing or harvesting in agricultural times. You learn the melodies young, adding your small voice and adorable mistimed phrases, which makes everyone smile. One cultural moment you remember vividly was when one of the tribe's hunters killed a very large stag that had been particularly elusive. When the men returned with this prize, The whole group was elated. This meant days of good eating and materials for tools and clothing. That night, after feasting on roast venison, a sort of informal ceremony took place. The successful hunter recounted how he tracked and felled the stag, with gestures and animation, almost like a performance. Everyone listened with rapt attention, occasionally interjecting with appreciation or questions. Then, as was custom, he offered the antlers of the stag to the group's elder or leader. The antlers might be fashioned into tools or worn as a headdress in future rituals. The sharing of the story and the gifting of a trophy piece was a way to give thanks and also ensure the glory of the hunt was communally owned, not just by the individual. You sat on your mother's lap, eyes huge, imagining the scene in the forest as the hunter described it, feeling the collective pride and gratitude. Afterward, one of the elders sang a slow, haunting song, perhaps to honor the spirit of the stag and thank it for its life that now sustains the tribe. The voices rose gently in the night air, and you felt a strange, comforting emotion you couldn't name, a feeling of belonging to something larger, a harmony with your people and nature. These early spiritual and communal experiences knit you into the fabric of your culture deeply. As more years roll by, you shed the chubbiness of early childhood and grow lean and strong, the typical physique of a forager child, all wiry muscle and agility from constant movement and a high-protein, low-fat diet, at least in times of plenty. In lean times, you're more skin and bones. By age 8 or 9, you are truly an active helper and learner on the cusp of becoming a young adolescent. If you are a boy, you've likely accompanied the men on a small hunt by now, not as a primary hunter, but allowed to trail along quietly to observe. Maybe you helped flush out rabbits from bushes or carry back birds they managed to snare. You idolize the adult hunters and practice endlessly with miniature spears you carve yourself with adult help, sharpening them to improve your aim. If you are a girl, you have probably spent considerable time with your mother and the women, mastering the arts of gathering and campcraft. By this age, you can dig up a yam or wild onion yourself. You know how to weave a simple mat or net from plant fibers, and you might have even helped in processing a hide, scraping away flesh with a stone tool, or rubbing in brains. Brains are used in hide tanning, as odd as it sounds, because the fats in the brain soften leather. These tasks are tedious and require patience and care, qualities you've been taught since you could hold a tool. The women have also taught you some rudimentary medicine, which plants soothe itchy bites, how to tie a bandage, as well as how to take care of infants. You've probably been charged with watching a baby sibling or cousin for short periods. In doing so, you learn early the immense responsibility and ceaseless attention a tiny human requires. You might notice around this age differences in how people treat you compared to the opposite sex, if you can observe such in a small band. Roles are quite flexible, but still distinct. The boys might get more practice with weapons, while the girls might be more involved in food preparation and gathering. There's no formal decree about this, just an informal teaching of skills that the community expects each to take on eventually. However, necessity often blurs lines. A girl might join a hunt if extra hands are needed, or a boy might help gather shellfish by the shore for lack of big game. Everyone in a small band is a generalist to some extent. Survival demands versatility. Your 10th year might bring a special event. Your band meets another neighboring band during seasonal migration. Perhaps each year, small family groups like yours who share distant kin ties convene at a certain location, maybe a river crossing or a coast, when resources are abundant, to exchange news, mates, and celebrate. Think of it as a very early form of a fair or festival. Though modest in scale, you've heard stories of these other people but never met them. When they arrive, you're initially shy and cling to your mother's side, peering at the strangers. They look much like your family, dressed in furs or woven grass garments, carrying infants and tools. They speak a dialect similar enough that the adults can communicate, though with some difficulty at first. After some cautious greetings, the mood relaxes. The two tribes may be camped together for several days. This is an exciting time for you. There are new children to play with, new stories to hear. You might trade toys or teach each other little games. Perhaps they show you how they make their snares differently, or a new song you didn't know. The adults trade too, maybe shell beads that came from far away, or a chunk of high-quality flint that your region lacks in exchange for some fine animal sinew threads your mother prepared. Such gatherings also often involve betrothals or exchanges of young people between groups to marry and live with the other tribe, strengthening alliances and mixing the gene pool. You witness an emotional farewell as one of your older teenage cousins, a girl of 16, is given to the other tribe to be the mate of a young hunter there. She's scared but puts on a brave face, hugging her family tightly. There are tears all around. In a world this small, losing a member to another band, even in a peaceful exchange, is bittersweet, but everyone knows it's for the best. This way, both groups ensure their bloodlines remain healthy and their ties friendly. In turn, the other group sends a young man to join your tribe, who might become someone's husband here. You watch wide-eyed, realizing that in some years, that could be you, venturing off with near strangers, because that's the way of things. It's a daunting thought, but there's also a quiet acceptance, even at your young age. This is how life continues. Seasons turn, and with them come cycles of hardship and abundance that define your existence. You've now seen perhaps 10 or 12 summers and winters. You remember some clearly, like the winter when game was so scarce that the whole band had to subsist on dried berries and rabbit bones, growing thin and haggard until spring mercifully arrived. That season claimed the life of one frail elder who simply didn't wake up one frigid morning, likely from a combination of cold and malnutrition. The sorrow of that time is etched in you, and so is the relief and almost spiritual joy you all felt when the first green shoots of spring emerged and the snows melted. Another year, you recall a different crisis: floods. Unusually heavy rains swelled the river near one of your camps. The water rose rapidly one night, inundating the low-lying part of the camp where a few shelters were set. The tribe woke to chaos, belongings floating away, the precious fire doused by water. Everyone scrambled to higher ground, soaked and shivering. In the commotion, one of the toddlers went missing. It was terrifying, people shouting the child's name, searching frantically along the muddy banks in pre-dawn gloom. Tragically, they found evidence the child had been swept away. A tiny track leading into the rush of water, gone. That day, the adults were quiet and grim. They performed a small ritual on the riverbank, perhaps dropping flower petals or a carved toy into the current as a farewell gesture, and then they moved the camp to safer ground, carrying with them another grief. You learned from that flood never to camp too close to water in the rainy season, a lesson passed into the group's collective memory thereafter. By now, you understand viscerally that nature is both giver and taker. In good times, it provides fish, fruit, and game, and life is almost pleasant. In bad times, it can seem cruel and capricious, sending drought, storm, or blight with no warning. The people of your tribe probably have beliefs to explain these swings. They might say the spirits of the land are angry, or that a certain taboo was broken. Perhaps they believe that a particular large volcano or mountain is home to gods who sometimes cast their wrath, which could be their way of conceptualizing an actual distant volcanic eruption that darkened the skies generations ago. The details vary, but in your young mind, there is a murky understanding that the world is full of invisible forces that must be respected. You've seen the adults make offerings, like leaving a bit of the first catch of the day at the foot of an old tree or cave painting, as if to share with unseen beings. You follow suit without question, because this is how it's always been done. There is comfort in these rituals. They give your people a sense that they have some measure of control, or at least dialogue with fate, even if reality suggests otherwise. Now you stand on the threshold of adolescence. Let's say you're about 13. In this time, that's already the beginning of adulthood, in many respects. If you're a girl, you might have had your first menstrual cycle by now, though malnutrition can delay it. If food has been reasonably good, puberty arrives around a similar age as today. The event is likely kept low-key. Your mother or the older women knew it would come and have prepared you somewhat, showing you how to use absorbent soft bark or moss to manage the blood, perhaps enacting a subtle ritual like washing you in the river and anointing you with a bit of fragrant herb to mark your transition. They might have you spend a day or two slightly apart from men during the heaviest flow, not out of shame, but following traditional notions of energy or cleanliness. Culturally, though, it's understood, you are now a woman in potential. You could bear children, and indeed you likely will be expected to before too many years pass. You might feel proud and nervous at this milestone. The women treat you a little differently now, welcoming you into their confidential circle, perhaps sharing more adult knowledge about coupling and childbirth, whatever limited understanding they have, mostly practical. They also likely increase your workload gradually. You take on more of the strenuous tasks like carrying heavier water skins, scraping bigger hides, or being solely responsible for minding younger kids. Childhood playtime is largely over for you. You'll still laugh and have fun with friends. Teenagers will be teenagers in any era, stealing moments of humor and lightheartedness, but more and more you are counted among the adult women. If you're a boy of this age, your voice might be deepening, and you're growing taller and stronger by the month, thanks to an active life. The men have probably been training you steadily, teaching you to knap flint into sharp tools, to track animals by their footprints and scat, to move silently through brush, and to perfect your shot with a spear, or perhaps a bow if your group has adopted bow and arrow technology by this time. Bows appear late in the Paleolithic in some areas. If not, spear throwers are the height of ranged weaponry. Maybe you've already taken a large animal in a hunt as a sort of rite of passage. Imagine on a hunt with the men, you successfully strike a wild boar with your spear. It's a dangerous prey with sharp tusks, but your throw is true, and the boar collapses after a short chase. The men whoop and clap you on the back. They butcher the boar and smear a bit of its blood on your face, a spontaneous gesture to honor your first big kill. When you return to camp with the boar, you're treated with a new respect. The elders proclaim that you'll be a formidable hunter. That evening around the fire, you recount the hunt, a bit bashfully but proudly, so that even those who weren't there can hear of your deed. Your mother's eyes glisten with pride and perhaps some sadness, realizing her little boy is now risking himself among the hunters. One of the elders might gift you a special arrowhead or a new finely crafted spear as a mark of your coming of age. You feel a surge of confidence. You truly belong among the men now. In both cases, boy or girl, adolescence in your world doesn't stretch out with schooling and sheltered dependence. It is a relatively brief bridge to full adulthood responsibilities. By your mid-teens, you are likely to be married or in some kind of pair bond if a suitable partner is available in the tribe or via exchange with another. Marriage is not a formal ceremony with rings and vows. It might be as simple as your parents agreeing with another family that you will join them, and then you begin living and working alongside your new mate. Perhaps one night the tribe holds a small gathering where they announce that you and this person are now partners, and everyone shares a drink of fermented berry juice if they have any, or just congratulates you. You might be given a new piece of clothing or a bead adornment as a wedding gift. And that is that. You're now expected to build a life together, contribute as a unit, and soon to start having children of your own to keep the tribe going. Let's say by around 17, you have a mate. If you're a young woman, maybe you took up with a slightly older hunter in your band, whom you fancy or who was chosen for you. If you're a young man, perhaps a girl who grew up alongside you has been your informal sweetheart, and the group simply acknowledged you two as a pair. Emotional love, as we know it, certainly exists. Humans then felt affection, jealousy, devotion, just as we do. But marriages are as much about survival and group harmony as personal romance. Either way, you likely care for your partner deeply because you've known each other and relied on each other through tough times already. Soon, very soon, given no contraception beyond maybe prolonged nursing gaps, you might become a parent. Imagine yourself at perhaps 18 years old, cradling your own newborn under the same smoky cave ceiling where you were born not so long ago. The experience is both joyful and terrifying, just as it was for your mother with you. Indeed, your mother might be the one helping deliver your baby if she's still alive and with the group. Maternal and infant mortality remain high. You know that all too well, so pregnancy is a time of guarded hope. The whole tribe supports expecting mothers as best they can, giving extra food if available, letting them rest from heavy work near the end, and using whatever herbal knowledge they have to ease labor pains or prevent miscarriage. Some plants could help tone the uterus or reduce bleeding, perhaps discovered by trial and error. When you hear the wail of your newborn for the first time, you also hear an echo of the cycle of life that's been going on endlessly. You realize now you are fully in the shoes of your parents, and the vulnerability of having a tiny infant in this environment hits you profoundly. If you're the mother, as you recover from the ordeal, sore, possibly having torn without any way to stitch, you can only hope to heal cleanly. You hold that baby with fierce protectiveness, silently vowing to keep it alive against all odds. If you're the father, you gather more wood. You sharpen your weapons with new determination, knowing there is another mouth depending on your success in the hunt. The elders smile, seeing a new baby. Each birth is a small victory against the toll of death that gradually whittles the tribe. By this stage of your life, you've seen many come and go. Possibly half the children you grew up playing with didn't make it to adulthood due to accidents or illness. Some adults have died too. Your beloved grandmother might have passed in her sleep one winter when you were a teenager, or an uncle died of an infected wound from a hunt gone wrong. Every loss leaves a gap. The tribe might be smaller, or might have merged with another to stay viable. Typically, these bands try to maintain at least 15 to 20 members, enough to help each other and have genetic diversity, but not so many that finding food becomes impossible. It's a delicate balance. Sometimes splits happen, say there's a feud, or just a decision to send a subset of people to form a new camp elsewhere to reduce pressure on resources. You may have experienced that too. Maybe a few years ago, your father and a couple of his brothers took their families and branched off to a different valley. It was a tearful separation among kin, but amicable, with plans to meet again occasionally. This fluid social structure is how humans adjusted their group size to environmental conditions long before any formal society. Now, in your 20s, you are in what we'd call your prime. If you've survived this long, you have the hard-won experience and physical capability to handle most of what life throws at you, aside from the unpredictable tragedies that can always strike. These might actually be some of your better years, relatively speaking. You're strong, skilled, and not yet too slowed by age. If your band has enough members, Perhaps you even get occasional short moments of leisure, genuine leisure, where a few of you might lounge by the river after a successful hunt, or spend an afternoon teaching the kids to swim in a safe, shallow pool while laughing and splashing. The worries never vanish, but when immediate needs are met for the day, Stone Age people surely found ways to relax and socialize, much as all humans do. You might engage in making some adornment for yourself. Maybe you collect pretty shells or carved bone beads and string them into a necklace. Personal ornamentation is evident even in Paleolithic archaeology: beads, pendants, ochre body paint. You partake in this because it's pleasurable and it signals something, perhaps status, or simply the human love of beauty. When you wear that necklace, you feel a small boost of pride. It sets you apart as an accomplished adult, or as a token of affection if someone gifted it to you. Another quiet pleasure of these years might be storytelling and intellectual curiosity. By now you've heard all the tribal lore many times, and may even contribute your own. Gathered around fires on long evenings, you and your peers discuss, in your simple vocabulary, the lay of the lands beyond what you know. Over the mountains, the river flows to a great water where the sun sets. Someone speculates from hearsay. Or what causes the stars to sometimes streak across the sky? Shooting stars may fascinate and puzzle you. Some nights the northern lights or an eclipse might appear, phenomena your people have noticed and woven into myth. Perhaps you help form the myth. You decide an eclipse is when a sky wolf tries to eat the sun or moon, and you all must bang drums or shout to scare it away, explaining why the sun returns. You might not have drums, but clapping stones or howling together could be a ritual. It provides a sense of agency against frightening, uncontrollable events. You have also personally witnessed how unpredictable fate is. One summer, a woman in your tribe, your friend, was bitten by a venomous snake while gathering berries. She died within hours despite all attempts to suck out venom or give her healing herbs. Yet another time, a man suffered what we now might think was a stroke or severe illness. He was unconscious, and everyone thought him dead. They even began preparing a burial, but he woke the next morning and slowly recovered, to everyone's astonishment, attributing it to some spirit's intervention. Incidents like these reinforce a view of the world as mysterious, capricious, and filled with forces beyond human control, yet possibly swayed by rituals, prayers, or omens if done correctly. Thus, you continue to practice the customs and taboos of your people diligently. For example, maybe it's taboo to hunt a certain animal viewed as sacred, except in dire need, or taboo for women to touch the hunting weapons, or vice versa, taboo for men to handle certain gathering baskets used in spiritual ceremonies. These small rules form your culture's moral and practical framework. Physically, by your late 20s, you likely have some chronic aches, perhaps an old injury from your teenage years, a twisted ankle while running from a wild boar, still throbs in cold weather. Years of chewing tough meats and using your teeth as tools to soften cords or open things have ground down your molars significantly. You might have 1 or 2 teeth missing or decayed. Maybe you occasionally suffer a toothache that you can do nothing about except chew on a numbing plant or drink an herbal concoction to dull the pain. If the tooth gets really bad, it might fall out, or you or someone could knock it out to relieve pressure. Dental abscesses are dangerous, but if you survive them and lose the tooth, that can sometimes solve the issue. Many older tribe members have gaps in their smiles and heavy tooth wear. You're heading that direction too. And what of your parents? If they are still alive, they might be in their 40s now. That's considered quite old in your context, an elder with a lifetime of knowledge. However, it's not unheard of. Some do make it to 50s or beyond. If your mother survived childbearing and illness, she may now be one of the respected older women, perhaps no longer bearing children. She might have gone through a primitive form of menopause by late 40s if she got that far. She likely helps mostly with lighter tasks and childcare, sharing wisdom while the younger and mid-aged folk do the heavy labor. Your father, if he lived through all those hunts and conflicts, might have graying hair and slower reflexes. He might have handed leadership of hunts to younger men like you, stepping back into more of a mentoring role. You all care for them, sharing food and helping them walk if their joints ache. Not just out of love, but because they are valuable. They remember past hardships and how the band overcame them. They know the land intimately, and they often serve as mediators in any disputes with their measured perspective. Because yes, disputes happen. Humans are humans. Perhaps within your band there have been tensions, two young men liking the same woman, causing a fight, or someone consistently taking a larger share of food and being called out for it, or arguments over whether to move camp or stay put. In a world with no formal laws or police, conflicts are resolved by the group's collective input, and sometimes by force or ostracization if needed. You've likely seen a fight break out, maybe a brief scuffle that others quickly broke apart, then a circle of discussion where the community elders listened to grievances. Peer pressure and the clear need for unity usually bring everyone to a compromise or apology. But if someone were truly unable to get along, say a man who violently challenges the informal authority of the group leader, it could end in him being exiled or in extreme cases killed. Exile is almost equivalent to a death sentence unless he finds another group, so it's not done lightly. Your tribe might have done this only rarely, perhaps once in your memory, if an individual became dangerously aggressive or violated a major taboo, like harming a child or sabotaging food supplies. It's a sobering event when it happens. You all watch as that person walks off into the wild alone, carrying what little they have, and you know you may never see them again. It reinforces why cooperation and conformity are so critical. Your survival isn't solitary. It utterly depends on being part of the group. The years continue to churn. You suffer losses and welcome new life in an ongoing cycle. Perhaps you lose one of your own children to illness, one bad winter, a blow that nearly breaks you, yet you must go on for your other kids and the tribe. Perhaps your closest friend since childhood, your cousin, is wounded in a freak hunting accident and dies in your arms on the trek back to camp. You bury him with honors and struggle with sorrow and fear after that. Each hunt reminds you of his fate, but you push the feelings down because everyone's counting on your skill. In quieter moments by the fire, you and the others reminisce about those who are gone. Storytelling keeps their memory alive for a while. You tell the children about brave Uncle so-and-so who once fought off a leopard with just a stick, or Aunt so-and-so who knew every healing herb. These memories last maybe a generation or two, but with no written record, they inevitably fade as those who knew the person pass on. In a century's time, even the names will be lost, replaced by newer tales. Only occasionally do some legends grow that persist for many generations. Perhaps an exceptional event, like a great flood or a heroic journey, becomes mythologized enough to survive in oral tradition for hundreds of years. Most individual lives simply melt into the vast anonymity of prehistory. As you approach what we'd think of as middle-aged 30s, you actually feel rather old by your society's standards. If you've made it this far, you're truly one of the tribe's veterans. Decades of walking, carrying, squinting in sun and smoke, all have weathered you. Your skin is leathery from sun, wind, and smoke exposure. Wrinkles crease your brow and around your eyes. Your hands have calluses as hard as the stone tools they've held. You likely walk with a bit of a stoop or limp from accumulated injuries, and you may be among only a handful of your age. Many from your youth are gone. Perhaps the tribe has a handful of elders older than you, but not many. You've likely assumed a role as one of the decision makers or teachers. Younger members, teens and 20-somethings, respect you for your knowledge and the fact you've survived so long, which in their eyes might indicate some favor of the spirits or simply great skill. If times are good, you relish seeing your children grow into strong adolescents who can help the tribe. If times are bad, you worry constantly about them. You might privately skip meals to give more to your kids when food is scant, a common parental sacrifice, then as now. You recall your parents doing the same for you. Sacrifice and sharing are ingrained virtues. Selfish individuals typically didn't prosper or were cast out. The group memory holds that we survive together or not at all. And it's true. A single human alone in this environment has such slim odds. Humans aren't the fastest or strongest animals. Only armed with knowledge, cooperation, and determination do they conquer environments. Now imagine yourself in your late 30s or early 40s. If fortune has really favored you, you have become one of the gray-haired elders, a grandmother or grandfather figure, if you will. The younger generation in the tribe now were babies you helped deliver or toddlers you bounced on your knee years ago. They look to you when deciding where to migrate next season or how to handle the strange tribes encountered at the edge of your range. You might not be the formal leader. Leadership in nomadic bands is often fluid and based on merit. Perhaps a particularly charismatic or skilled hunter is the de facto head, but you are certainly consulted on big decisions. You sit by the fire at night, telling the old stories one more time to wide-eyed children, knowing you are the living repository of the tribe's history. Without you, those memories would vanish. It's a weighty honor. Physically, you've slowed down a lot. Let's say you're around 40-something. Many in the tribe consider you very old. You might have painful arthritis in your hips and hands. Maybe your eyesight is not as sharp. You struggle to see small details up close. Presbyopia, common as people age, would affect you just as now. And of course, there are no glasses. For distance, maybe it's still decent, or perhaps cataracts are forming from years of UV exposure by open fires and sunlight. Either way, you probably aren't hunting large game anymore. You couldn't keep up with the chase. Instead, you contribute by making tools, setting small traps nearby, crafting baskets or clothing, and especially by caring for the littlest ones while the able-bodied adults are out working. You become a teacher and caretaker. Perhaps you have a grandchild on each knee as you chip away at a piece of flint, showing them how to shape a spear point with careful taps. Or you help a shy teenager practice speaking to the group by encouraging their story during evening gatherings. Caring for the young is a crucial role elders play. In fact, there's a theory called the grandmother hypothesis, which suggests that having post-reproductive adults around to help raise children gave an evolutionary advantage to humans. You are living proof of that concept now. Your foraging knowledge and extra set of hands improve your grandkids' survival chances. And in turn, being valued and loved gives you emotional fulfillment, even as your body frails. Your grandchildren marvel at your stories of how things were long ago. To them, maybe 30 years past seems long ago. You might exaggerate a bit or insert a moral lesson, as elders often do. I remember the winter when the river froze solid and we had to crack ice every morning to get water. You begin, teaching them resilience and cleverness through your narrative. Not all elders get this gentle twilight. If resources become scarce, the sickly and elderly might face tougher outcomes. In truly dire times, it's known from some later hunter-gatherer accounts that an elder might voluntarily separate themselves or be left behind if they couldn't keep up during a crucial migration. It's a haunting thought, but it has likely happened countless times in prehistory. An old man or woman, legs swollen with infection, or simply too weak to walk after a harsh winter, telling their family, go on without me, save yourselves, and then being left near a fire with a last drink of water as the tribe moves on with tears in their eyes. Sometimes they might survive and catch up if they regain strength. Often, they quietly perish of exposure or predation alone under the sky. We can hope in your scenario that circumstances never forced such a heartbreaking decision for your tribe. Instead, perhaps you simply slip away in your sleep one night, warm by the fire, with your family around. Let's imagine that moment. You are perhaps around 45, a truly venerable age for a Stone Age human. It's early spring. The winter was hard on you. You had a persistent cough, maybe bronchitis or tuberculosis in early form, that drained your strength. Yet you held on through the cold months, determined to see the first wildflowers bloom again. One evening, the tribe makes camp in a lovely sheltered spot. The air has the first mildness of spring. Children are playing, dogs gnawing on bones, adults repairing tools. You are exhausted from the day's travel. You sit near the fire, but your back aches so badly you lie down on your bedroll of furs earlier than usual. Your daughter or son drapes an extra hide over you and squeezes your hand. You gaze at the scene, the people you've loved, the flicker of firelight on familiar faces, the silhouettes of trees against the starry night. You feel proud of them. The young ones look strong and capable. They have learned well. The group will carry on after you're gone. There's a quiet acceptance in your heart. Life has always been a cycle. You've seen it since your own childhood. Someone starts humming an old lullaby. It's the tune your mother once hummed to you. Perhaps without even realizing, you begin to hum along softly. A few others join in, voices blending in gentle harmony. The children grow calm, nestling by their parents. The stars glitter brightly above, in patterns you know by heart. You close your eyes, listening to the crickets chirp and the low crackle of the fire. Memories drift through your mind, running through sunlit forests as a child, laughing the face of your first friend who died so young, the thrill of your first hunt, the tender moment of holding your newborn baby, the tears and smiles, hunts and dances, storms and springs, an entire tapestry of a life lived fully in tune with the earth. Maybe you sense that your time is near. You squeeze your daughter's hand weakly and whisper a few last words of wisdom or love, or perhaps you simply sigh and let yourself relax completely for the first time in decades. As the lullaby winds down, you exhale one final breath and depart this world as quietly as a candle flickering out. There is no documentation of your passing, no grand monument, only the immediate, profound grief of those who wake to find you gone. They will bury you in the morning light, likely with care and honor, placing some red ochre powder on your body, tucking your favorite necklace of beads around your neck, and perhaps positioning a cherished tool by your side so you are equipped in the next life or journey, whatever their belief might be. The entire tribe gathers around as you are laid in the earth. Some may cry softly, others might sing a plaintive funeral song that has been sung for generations at such moments. One by one, handfuls of soil are sprinkled over you, mixed with flower petals if any can be found, a final goodbye. In the days and weeks after, your name is spoken often. The children ask questions. They don't fully understand why you aren't here. The adults explain in the terms of their spiritual beliefs. Maybe they say you have become one with the ancestors, or returned as a bird or a star watching over them. Around evening fires, your daughter might recount one of your favorite stories in your honor, keeping your memory alive a while longer. But life presses on relentlessly. There's no real opportunity for prolonged mourning when each day demands focus on survival. And so, as the seasons turn, the tribe moves to new hunting grounds, grandchildren grow up, and your story gradually fades from active telling. A generation or two later, A child might ask, "Who made these paintings on the cave?" And someone will say, "Oh, that was done long ago by our ancestors." The specifics lost, you have gently transitioned into the anonymous ancestors whom the tribe respects collectively but cannot individually recall. Yet, anonymously, you left so much behind. The skills you taught, the values you imparted, the very existence of people whose lives you saved or nurtured, all that echoes forward. In that sense, no prehistoric person is truly gone without a trace. You are present in the knowledge passed to your children and theirs, in the slight refinements to a tool-making technique that you discovered and showed others, in the new campsite locations you scouted that your tribe now returns to each year, because they learned through you that those places were good. Your influence lives on in ways subtle but real, threading into the tapestry of human experience. Zooming out beyond your tribe, think of the countless other bands living across the world at this time. Many will undergo similar experiences. Those in colder regions battle more frost and snow. Those in tropical regions battle more humidity, diseases, and perhaps different predators. Some coastal groups rely heavily on the sea for fish and shellfish, developing perhaps early boats or rafts. Inland forest groups become masters of tracking and trapping. Deserts clans learn every waterhole by heart and how to travel at night to avoid heat. Each environment shapes its people, but all share that fundamental reality of the Stone Age. Life is about getting enough to eat, finding safe shelter, avoiding dangers, and raising children to continue the cycle. It's a life that is fiercely real, with no buffers. The modern ideas of personal freedom or self-actualization don't exist in the same way. Freedom, if one calls it that, is the freedom of roaming a vast landscape with no borders, but it's bounded by the tyranny of needing to survive each and every day. There are no leisure-driven pursuits like art for art's sake or science. Any art or inquiry you engage in is integrated with survival or spirituality. Some idealize such a life as simpler or more natural, thinking of it as carefree camping in the wilderness. But as you've lived through in this thought journey, it was anything but carefree. It demanded ceaseless effort, vigilance, and resilience. There was simplicity in the sense of not having complex social hierarchies or material greed. Indeed, your tribe had a kind of equality and direct connection to nature that is lost in modern times. There were no jarring noises or pollution. The rhythm of your days followed the sun and seasons intimately. In that simplicity, perhaps there was a certain peace at times, like the meditative monotony of walking forest paths daily, or the communal contentment of sharing a meal around a fire with those you trust fully. However, we must remember all the costs of that existence, the pain of losing half your children, the constant threat of violent death or starvation, the physical suffering from injury or disease that you simply had to endure without relief. For every gentle night of storytelling by the fire, there was a night of terror cowering from predators or shivering in hunger. For every beautiful sunrise over pristine land, there was the gnawing anxiety of whether you'd find food by sunset. It was a life of extremes and uncertainties that few today would willingly accept if they truly understood it. And yet our ancestors did accept it, not in resignation, but in mastery. Over tens of thousands of years, they learned to weather all kinds of adversity. They spread to new continents, crossing ice bridges and open seas with rudimentary rafts. They survived glacial maximums where ice sheets miles thick altered the world's climate, and they survived the thawing floods when those glaciers melted. They endured the explosion of supervolcanoes that darkened skies for years and likely adjusted in their aftermath. They encountered animals we can only dream of in fantasy: woolly rhinos, cave lions, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats, sometimes hunting them, sometimes being hunted. They even met other human species, Neanderthals, Denisovans, etc., and mingled and intermarried, carrying a bit of their genetic legacy within us today. Through it all, these Stone Age humans persisted, generation after generation, eking out not just existence, but laying the groundwork for all future human achievements. Without the patience and endurance of those nameless people, there would be no subsequent invention of agriculture, no villages, no written language or history. They are the blank pages of the human story on which everything else was later written. We don't know their individual names or deeds, but we know they must have been clever, brave, and cooperative to get us here. So, as you drift off to sleep now, safe in a world transformed by millennia of progress, perhaps you can feel a gentle kinship with that distant past. In your warm bed, with the soft hum of modern comforts around, imagine for a moment the quiet of a Paleolithic night. No cars, no electrical buzz, just a chorus of crickets and the crackling of a fire. Picture the stars above, unmarred by city lights, spilling across the sky in majesty. Envision a small band of humans, your ancestors, somewhere far back in time, huddled close in that glow, tired from a day of hard work, their children curled against them. They may have a few crude lullabies and stories, but eventually, one by one, they fall asleep on the cool earth, trusting the fire to guard them from what lurks in the dark. It was not an easy life. In fact, by our standards, it sucked to be born a caveman. The hunger, the cold, the danger, the briefness and rawness of it all. But it was life, and they embraced it with the same full heart that we embrace ours. There was love in that world, love as pure and fierce as any today. There was laughter, echoing against cave walls at some joke or playful child's antic. There was wonder at the sudden burst of a comet's tail, or the northern lights shimmering like spirits. There was community, a band of people wholly devoted to one another's survival and well-being, sharing everything because everything rode on everyone. And ultimately, there was endurance, quiet, dogged endurance against all odds. In the grand silence before history, countless such lives came and went, like sparks from a fire into the night. Unrecorded, but not insignificant, each one mattered because together they carried humanity forward through the darkest of nights and hardest of times. Now we, in modern times, can close our eyes and be grateful that we have full bellies, roofs over our heads, medicine to heal our wounds, all luxuries beyond the wildest dreams of a Paleolithic child. And as we slip into sleep, we might send a silent thank you backward to those rugged, determined people of the Stone Age. They suffered so that eventually their descendants, us, could build a safer, more comfortable world. In a way, when we sleep peacefully without fear of prowling lions or freezing cold, we are enjoying the rest they seldom could. So take a deep breath, feeling the softness of your bed, the warmth of your blanket. Hear in your mind the distant crackle of that ancient campfire and the murmur of a lullaby sung under a canopy of stars. Feel the immense chain of life connecting you to that humble cave. Your eyes grow heavy and you let yourself drift, cradled by the knowledge that you are safe, something so simple yet so unattainable for most of human existence. In this safe space, you carry the legacy of all who came before. Their blood runs in your veins, their hopes live in your dreams. Tonight, you journeyed back to a very old home to see why it was so very hard to live then and to understand how far we've come. Let any remaining worries you have fade away as the images of ancient forests and firesides gently recede. Imagine those long-ago relatives of ours watching over you kindly from the stars or the spirit world, nodding in approval that their progeny has found a life where one can finally truly rest. You have earned your rest, and so have they. The story continues, and you are part of it, connected across tens of thousands of years in the great tapestry of humankind. Now, in this quiet moment, Allow yourself to sink into a deep, peaceful sleep, wrapped in the softness and security that so many before you only dreamed of. In your dreams, perhaps you'll wander those ancient landscapes freely, knowing you can always return to the warmth of the present. Sleep well, dear one. The night is calm, you are safe, and the first light of dawn will find you comfortably in your bed, a gift of countless yesterdays. For now, let the gentle darkness lull you, as if you were beside that old glowing hearth with caring voices humming you to sleep. Good night and sweet dreams.